If we know that a pair of triangles are congruent to one another, let's go ahead and come up with a statement here. Suppose triangle ABC is congruent to triangle SRT. This means they have the same size and shape. We've known that for some time. But let's get a little more particular when we examine these two triangles. So suppose triangle ABC looked like this. And let's say it's a right triangle, okay? I know because B, the order of the letters matters when you're writing a congruency statement. Because B is in the middle, I know when I draw my other triangle, R matches with B, and it should be the right triangle in triangle SRT. So let's suppose it was just oriented a little differently. But because R and B are in the same spots, when I go to draw my triangle, that should be S. I'm sorry, that should be R. The two right angles should match. A and S, A appears just the way I've drawn it, like it's the bigger of the two. It seems to be the angle on the shorter side. So if I want this to look like it's drawn to scale, if this is angle A, angle S would have the same measure, and C and T are in the last spots, and they seem to be the smaller of the two angles that are left in this triangle. You match up the parts. We have 3 pair of congruent angles, and we have 3 pair of congruent sides. Okay, the 3 pair of angles, angle A is congruent to angle S. Angle B, the right angle, is congruent to angle R. And angle C is congruent to angle T. In terms of the sides, this leg, it looks like the shortest leg, AB, is congruent to, now I haven't probably drawn these 100% to scale, but you trust the statement over the picture. So A and B are the first 2 letters. It's going to be congruent to segment SR. Segment BC, the longer leg, is congruent to RT. And again, B and C are the second and third letters. They're going to match up with RT. And then finally, the hypotenuse AC, the first and last letters, will be congruent to the first and last letters over here as well. Okay? All right, so let me go ahead and just give you one more statement quickly. So suppose we know that, let's do something other than a triangle just to practice the congruency statements. Suppose that trapezoid A, B, C, D, we're really used to having the letters in order, is congruent to trapezoid, and I'm just going to completely mix this up and call it E, P, Q, W, just some random ordering of letters. If you know the trapezoids are congruent, just like the triangles, every pair of corresponding sides and every pair of corresponding angles is going to be equal. So up here, we call these pairs of angles and pairs of sides their corresponding parts, and they're just the matching, they match when you look at each of the figures. So this is just a little bit of practice briefly. Okay, if we know that these two figures are congruent to each other, then angle B is congruent to which angle over here? Well, B comes in the second position. B would be congruent to angle P. What about segment WQ? Well, W and Q, congruent to, are the third and fourth letters, and we know whether we write the segment WQ or QW, same thing, but WQ is going to be congruent to segment DC. So why don't you just try these remaining statements, you fill them in. Okay, and okay, so do those remaining statements, and then we'll practice this more, and we'll go into more detail when we're together in class.